So welcome to class. This is the week 5 of the course SOC 1010, Introduction to Sociology.
Professor,
And
before you
what about the
can I ask you something?
midterm? Was it easy or not?
Can you hear me?
I cannot hear you. Say something.
Can you hear me now?
Gabriel, are you talking?
Yes. Can you hear me? Courtney can hear me. You can hear me?
So let me know why I cannot hear you.
Hello.
Is it okay now?
Can you hear me? I can hear you.
Yes, I understand that your microphone doesn't work. I don't know why, but I cannot hear.
Hello. It's not mine.
Courtney can hear us and Gabriela can hear me, but I cannot hear none of you. It's about my speaker. So
¿Ya comenzó a ocurrir? No es tanto.
yes. Yes, I can hear Gabriela now.
Oh, can you hear me? I was writing a message.
Yeah, I can hear you and you can hear me also.
Yes. I just want to
Perfect.
ask about the case study because I wrote you an email, but I didn't get any answer. I don't know what
Sorry.
that is because this is my first semester of college. And
Yes.
I don't know what. Can you explain? Because you told us
Yes.
you're working on it, but I
Yes.
don't know what that is.
Yes, I can. It's your case study for week 6, and we have presented a case report, for example, here about Walmart, and you will study. And you have learned something about the social responsibility, for example, in this case. And you 3-page response by Sunday for our course session. It's a case study. You haven't.
This is the one that we have to do,
Yeah,
or you're
yeah,
just an example?
yeah. It's about the course. As you see here, it is the course SOC 10.
So it's basically an essay?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Based on your thinking, your experience, your knowledge, it is analysis about the case report.
Oh,
We have
okay.
a subject to you, or this is very easy. In bachelor, it is very easy. In master, we have two case study. In PhD, we have one group case. This is very, very serious. But in bachelor, it's very easy. And we have offered you some, for example, video here, and you can find it anything else. It's more important about 3-page.
So this is due by not this Sunday, next Sunday, right?
Next Sunday, yes.
Okay.
I will correct it after the class there. Here,
Okay.
yes. It is Sunday at the end of week 6.
Okay.
Now we are, it is, can you see here? It is February 4th.
February 14.
Yeah, it is Sunday.
Okay, got it.
Okay, it's
Okay, I
very
thought it
easy.
was something bigger than that, but okay, fine.
No. For me, it is very important your analytical thinking in case test study.
Got it. Okay, thank you.
Okay. So bad that we cannot hear Courtney. So let's go to chapter 10, and after that, chapter 9, sorry, and after that to chapter 10. Okay. At first, we will talk about race and ethnicity. And as you remember, we had 3 parts, 3 symbols for social stratification. They were power, prestige, and wealth. Wealth, power, and prestige. These are the 3 elements, 3 symbols of social stratification. And now we are talking in these chapters, chapter 9 and chapter 10, about the other elements of social stratification. It is not about the social class. It is about the different classification, different stratification. One of them is race, and the other one is ethnicity, also gender, and other elements. Okay. What is your race? What is your ethnicity? How is race socially constructed in society? What is the difference between prejudice and discrimination? What evidence is there that race relations are improving in society? You know, especially in the Society of America, we have a long term of protest and a battle against the discrimination between the Negroes and the white people, especially about 200 years ago. Yes, near 200 years ago, in 1862, we had a proclamation, Emancipation Proclamation by Abraham Lincoln about the freedom of Negroes. But now again, you see that the Black Lives Matter BLM is candidate for Nobel Prize in 2021. The movement is candidate, not a person, for Nobel Peace Prize. One of the greatest candidates, one of the most serious candidates for gaining the Nobel Peace Prize is BLM, Black Lives Matters. Why? After near 170 years after the Emancipation Proclamation signed by Abraham Lincoln, and after a serious movement, for example, by Martin Luther King Jr., now again, we have in the streets of Los Angeles and other parts of the country, we have a protest so-called BLM, Black Lives Matter. And it's so serious because of that. It's a serious candidate and maybe the prize winner for Nobel Peace Prize for Black Lives Matters. What does it mean? It means that the move is not ended. The move hasn't reached the basic parts, the basic needs, the basic wants of the time, the basic parts. Yes, it's now very more better. It is much better than, for example, 100 years. Everybody knows it. But still, we have some problems about the race and ethnicity. For example, in the presidency time of Donald Trump, we had a very high pressure on immigrant people, very immigrant, high pressure from 6 relatively Muslim countries and against also Hispanic people, immigrant Hispanic people, not on them, but on the ethnicity, on the race, and the religion. Sometimes in different times, we had some formal, very formal pressures on gender-based differences. Because of that, in such a course like Introduction to Sociology, we should talk about the differences based on gender, based on race, based on ethnicity and other parts. How is race socially constructed in society? What is the difference between prejudice and discrimination and other parts? And these are the chapter outlines: race and ethnicity, prejudice, social perspectives, and race and ethnic relations, racial and ethnic groups in the United States, and global racial and ethnic inequality in the future. Number one, a new multicultural awareness. Multicultural, not only one culture, not monocultural. Some deeply held ideas about race and racial differences are often expressed in our beliefs about sports and athletic abilities. For example, we think that always Black people are stronger, masculine or stronger than other people, or always we think that the art of singing in Black people is much better than other people. Do you think some deeply held ideas about race and racial differences are often expressed in our beliefs about sports and athletic abilities? Idea, not the reality. It is true. Also, a lot of old ancient people, old white people, for example, about 300 years ago, after Renaissance, a lot of white European people felt that, yes, they are the king of the world and they are smarter than other parts of the world. And they should be the captain of freedom in the world. Some of them, not all of them, felt like this based on their ability in mathematics, in ability in industry, in ability in science, especially in some good countries like Britain, like Germany, and in the southeast part of the Europe, like Spain and Portugal. Most elite sprinters are of West African descent because they possess a greater percentage of fast twitch muscles than can be attributed to a specific racial gene. It's false, it's not true. The changes of becoming a professional athlete are better than a chance of getting struck by lightning or writing a New York Times bestseller. How do you think? We have Oprah Winfrey here. We have some other Chinese or Oriental people here as the famous and very, very effective people in the Society of America. So it's clear that it's false. In the 21st century, the number of African Americans in head football coaching positions in the 120 football bowls subdivision has increased significantly.
True.
Oh, welcome to our voice. Today, all university presidents and athletic directors at the 125 FPS colleges are white. All university presidents. Who was the name of the second person, the secretary, the black lady? I think she was in the George W. Bush government with her sister. The foreign policies was affected by her and her sister. I forgot. Just now. Who is the vice president? Resident of California. Now, who is the vice president of the America? You don't know who is the vice president of America just now? Courtney, you are muted.
Kamala Harris.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you now.
Who is the vice president just now?
Harris. Kamala Harris.
Kamala Harris, the senator of California. She is not a man. She is not he is. She is not white American. She is not original white American, original American. I think she's a combination of Indian people and Hispanic people. I am not certain about it. But she's vice president. I know, yes, I know that. It is so rare, yes. But everything begins with a starting point. Coming Barack Obama as a president of America was a starting point for entering the closed doors for Black people in the highest level of politics in America. And now coming a woman as a vice president, the second one of the power in the United States is again a starting point for entering for breaking the doors close to women or close to, for example, African people to enter the highest level of politics. African American account for more than half of all FBS football student athletes. More than half or not? Yes. Our best athletic people here in America are from African American. Welcome to the world of sport. All of the conference commissioners of the FBS are white men. All of conference commissioners, yes. A visible racial ethnic diversity on college sports team has little effect on how younger athlete perceives of the future educational and sporting opportunities in college and beyond. It's false. So, what is race? What is race? Forget the PowerPoint you are looking at. What is race?
It's how we look, basically. Like physical characteristics is probably the most common way to describe it.
Mm-hmm.
Like skin color, eye shape,
Mm-hmm.
type of hair.
Can you consider any mental attitude to the word for a race or not? Any mental feature?
It could be like intelligent or not.
Psychological characteristic about the specific race, in addition to physiological characteristic.
Like, would educated and non-educated be one?
Maybe.
Maybe.
Any geographical characteristic, for example, for the same geographical territory, is it the definition of race or not?
No, that wouldn't be in it.
Thank you. Because of that, we say race is a socially constructed reality. Race, not ethnicity. Race is a socially constructed reality with collective agreement, imposition, and acceptance of a specific construction. A race is a category of people who have been singled out as inferior or superior, often on the basis of a real or alleged physical characteristics such as skin color, hair texture, eye shape, or other subjectively selected attributes. Subjectively selected attributes. It is not about the subjectivity. It is about how can you select the attributions of a race subjectively. The features are not subjective, they are objective. But how can you consider, how can you select as a profession in the field of, for example, biology? How can you consider the characteristics for a race? The methodology of selection is subjective. So a race is a category of people who have been signed out as inferior or superior, often on the basis of real or alleged physical characteristics such as skin color, hair texture, eye shape, or other subjectively selected attributes. For example, there is a myth in my country based on some religious beliefs that people with green eyes are smart, very, very complicated, and not with a good soul. Yeah. Also, it is not very popular. It is not very popular because, on the other hand, people with green eyes are very, very, very approved in my country, in my culture, because our ordinary eye color is not green. In that part of Asia and Middle East, ordinary. We have a lot of people with green eyes. But our ordinary eye colors is about near brown to sometimes, for example, black. It's good that you have a green eyes in my country. But some religious education, some informal, it is not about the, for example, thinking of Prophet. Prophet never had talking about the eye colors of people, especially about the badness or goodness of the eye color. It's eye color. It's a biological characteristic. So in neuropsychology, the science between psychology and neurology, there is no evidence-based fact about the relationship and correlation between the personality traits and, for example, eye color. But some distortions about the thinking religious beliefs in my country said that, yes, sometimes people with green colors, green eye colors, they are so smart, very complicated, especially about women. We have an Arabic word here. It is khazra'ud daman. Khazra'ud daman is mean a woman with green eyes and with a bad family history. They said, no. You should not enter in a close relationship with people that they have a green eyes and with a bad, for example, family history. Also, it is not approved. Many people don't know anything about it, and they go to a good relationship until the end of their life with a beautiful man or woman with green eye colors. It is not scientific. They don't know anything about their religious beliefs and other parts. But on the other hand, some people never entered in such, for example, relationship as a long-term intimate relationship, like something like, for example, marriage. Because of that, it said subjectively selected attributes. The attributes of a race, the characteristic of a race, are not subjective. But the meaning of that physiological or objective characteristics, the meaning we consider for those characteristics are subjective. You said in the question about, for example, very respectful Hispanic people, very respectful Black people here in America, very respectful. When Donald Trump said that none of the immigrants can be here, many white American people say, how can you govern your country? This country is the country of immigrants. Traditionally, it is not about the new age of America. It is about the old age of America. After 1494, the conquest of paradise, the conquest of United States, 1494. After that time, this country is the country of immigrants, like Australia, like Canada, like New Zealand, and other parts that they are welcome to immigrants. Everybody here. The only Native American is Indian American, the only one. That their race has been destroyed by white Americans about near 500 years ago. They are the only Native American. Other people are immigrant, white American, European American, Black American, after that Asian American, Persian American, Chinese American, and other, especially in California, Hispanic people, Mexican American, welcome. Because of that, many people come to the streets and said, what are you doing as a president? You are closing the doors to the immigrant for a country which basically the scientific, the financial, the workforce, everything here is about immigrant. Why? Because even the president of America was originally from Germany. Only one generation. His father, not his grandfather. His father was from Germany. You can see the movie with the title of Trump Family. I think it is from Netflix. I am not sure about it. An 8 hours series about the origin and the personality of Donald Trump. It was made 2 years ago, 1 year ago. Yeah. But what is about ethnicity? I want you to know about the detailed differences between the definition of race and the definition of ethnicity. We talk about the racial characteristic we use for defining the race. Now we are considering the characteristic for defining the ethnicity. An ethnic group is a collection of people distinguished by others or by themselves primarily on the basis of cultural or nationality characteristic, unique cultural traits, a sense of community, a feeling of ethnocentrism, ascribed membership from birth, and territoriality. Territoriality is about the geographical features. So in race, you see alleged, real or alleged physical characteristic. In ethnicity, you see cultural or nationality characteristic. So honestly, when you are talking about Mexican people, you are not talking about a race. You are talking about the ethnicity. Why? Because the Mexican is a part of the word. It is the name of the culture, name of the nationality. But when you are talking about Black people, you are talking about the race. Why? You say Black people, you are considering some specific, observable, physiological characteristic. So it is very easy. to distinguish between race and ethnicity. Also, they are very, very, very similar together. Very similar together. It's very interesting in America when you want to fill a form and they ask about your ethnicity or your race. They say, I, as someone from Middle East, I am considered a white people, not Asian people. It is very interesting. The beginning days, the starting day, the first days I was in America, I filled the forms with the Asian characteristic because I am from Asia. Middle East is a part of Asia, not Europe, not America. And in immigration officer said to me, "Are you Asian?" I said, "Yes, I am from Iran." So, "No, you are not Asian." I said, "Sorry, sir. My country is the greatest part. My country is the greatest country of the whole Asia. Iran is the greatest country in Asia." And I said, "Also, if you don't consider, sorry, if you after China, my country is the greatest country." I said, "No, I'm Asian. I'm from Iran." And the gentleman said to me, explained to me that no, for filling the forms in America, people from Middle East are considered as white people, Caucasian people. Asian people is always used for Oriental people, Far East, not Middle East. So wow. Vietnamese, Japanese, Chinese, Korean people are considered as, also it's a formal description, it's a formal explanation for distinguish between different races, for example, from one great, yes, what is the greatest part of the world? It is Asia. But with these different races, we should consider some different characteristics. Sometimes about the nationality, it is ethnicity. Sometimes about the physical or physiological features, so-called race. You see New York City's Chinatown in an ethnic enclave where people participate in social interaction with other individuals in their ethnic group and feel a sense of shared identity. Provide ethnic enclaves, provide economic and psychological support for recent immigration as well as for those who are born in the United States. For example, in America, I think after Chinese, after Hispanic people, and after Indian people, I think in Los Angeles, I am certain that my minority is the greatest minority after Chinese. Persian people are the second minority in Los Angeles. And we have a lot of, for example, Persian shops, a lot of Persian shops here in Irvine. And when you go to our store, very great stores in, for example, Irvine and other parts of SoCal, you see many people that they are not Persian, but they are buying very, for example, famous foods of Persian foods. Why? Because it is so delicious. It is very good for the taste of American people, especially for the white American people love the taste of our foods and other contribution with other cultures. You there and you think that, yes, I am at my home with the Persian music, with the Persian food, and also for Chinese people, for Korean people, for Hispanic people. 5 days ago, accidentally I went to some city. I think it was Buena Park, or a city near Buena Park, and I found from the name of the store, I found that yes, it's a very specific Hispanic store, very great store. I entered and I asked about the, for example, Hispanic spices, Hispanic foods, special store for Hispanic people. So you can see that in somewhere like California, even the name of the streets basically are from Hispanic roots. Los Angeles, you say Los Angeles, Santa Ana, all are Hispanic, Spanish, or Mexican roots. But again, in this part, that very specific part is from the major population of California are Hispanic people, Mexican people. again, you go to a store which is specifically for Hispanic people. Race and ethnicity are socially significant. What opportunity individuals have and how they are treated. Remember, I mentioned that you are talking about an apparently fair society like America. Why I emphasize on the word apparently? Because in the society of America, you see a lot of race-based differences, discrimination. But they are not apparent. They are in the hidden parts. But apparently, everybody says, yes, we are a fair country. And honestly, all citizens of the United States, all people in government try to have a good, fair behavior with different races. It is not about the government. It is about the nature of a place that different races are living together. It is not about the government. The government was, for example, 200 years ago. Yes, discrimination was basically one of the federal laws. And after Abraham Lincoln, it was done. It was undue. They said, no, we are not, for example, we don't want to have any Negro slaves in America. But after that, it goes to the underskin, to the hidden parts of the society, not about only Black people, so it's about all minorities, especially in some cities like San Diego, like Los Angeles, especially in New York. Italian people, Irish people, white American people. In white American, for example, in a city like New York, you can see in white American people different branches. Italian white American people, Irish white American people, English-based white American people. And for example, again, you can consider some types of Hispanic people as white American people in a great, crowded, complicated, and powerful city like New York or San Diego or Los Angeles. Racial classifications have changed over time. We talk about the US Census classifications are race is defined by perceived skin color. Categories of official racial criteria may create a sense of group membership, and racial purity is assumed to exist. Racial purity is assumed to exist, not really exist. Again, you see white or Black or African American, white and some other races, white and Asian, white and American Indian and Alaskan Native, and Black or African American and American Indian and Alaska Native. We have two phrases here, dominant group and subordinate group. In dominant group, we have a racial or ethnical group that has the greatest power and resources in a society. Honestly, do you think white American people are the dominant group in the society of America? How do you think? Is there any difference between West Coast and East Coast about the nature of dominant group, about the basic parts of dominant groups, different races or not? How do you think? Discuss it.
I think there is a difference you can see from like the East Coast and the West Coast. The East Coast, especially the South, or I guess to the Northeast. Even I grew up in Florida, so I always considered that kind of in the middle. You're not really. I feel like nobody really considers Florida East or West Coast. You're kind of just the South. Um, but I always kind of picture like New York and Maryland and all of their a little bit more upper class, I would guess, in my mind when I was growing up. And then, oh,
You're muted.
Yeah.
Can you hear me now?
Sorry.
Oh,
Yeah.
sorry.
Do you consider some cities like New York or Maryland or Washington, D.C. as the upper class part of that part of America?
When I was younger, yes, I can remember thinking like the East Coast, and then you think of like the wine vineyards, and from like your books and movies, you see
Yeah.
things like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And the South is more of like, or even if you think of the Middle East, you're like farming and all of that. It's not as um, culturally diverse. There's
Yeah.
not like operas and plays.
What are the dominant main symbols of higher culture, do you think?
Like wealth status, probably
Wealth, power,
power.
and for example,
That's where like the
reading
government
a book.
is there.
Sometimes we are talking about culture. We are talking about some level of intellectuality,
Hmm.
some level of thinking, a lifestyle, and a mindset about the mental syntax. For example, in Germany, reading the books is a basic part, symbols of having a higher social level. If you want to say to other people that, yes, I am from a higher social level, you should talk about the books you have read, for example, since the last year. If you don't read book, people say, yes, such a good lady you are. But it's something like education level. In Germany, it is not about the social, it is not about the economic status. Many people have good economic status. But when they want to consider them as a higher educational, higher intellectual, social level, it's about reading the books. What type and what style of music do you hear? And it's about the movie, style of movie genre that you are watching. Sometimes it's the classical music, sometimes the classical books, and sometimes it's about the very conceptual movies. You cannot find these social culture based shows in America. Sometimes it's good, but nobody asks you what the last book you have read here. Ordinary, nobody asks you. Even your colleagues, even your, for example, classmate, even your professor, yes. But for example, in different parts of America, East Coast and West Coast, again, we have different approaches. In California, it is not important. In Washington, D.C., it is very important. Do you know about the name of the books? Do you know about it's very interesting that the city of entertainment, one of the greatest centers of entertainment in the world is Los Angeles, especially in the field of movies, cinema. Los Angeles is for movie, and New York is for theater. And music, something between here and there. But even in Los Angeles, you go to the street and ask people, what is the last conceptual movie Hollywood has made? Conceptual movie about very deep, very thinking rising movie that you should think about the movie. Many people don't know anything about it. In the center of entertainment, you ask about the last, for example, action movie, everybody says about the last, for example, show of Kim Kardashian, everybody know about it. But you ask about the last book that one of the greatest, about the Nobel Prize, for example. What is the Nobel Prize of 2020 in literature? Nobody knows. But I have heard and I have read about it that in Washington, D.C., many people knows. Many ordinary people know. Why? Because it is some symbols of social prestige. What a type of educated man or woman you are, that you don't know anything about the philosophy, about the ordinary, these days, philosophical mind of life. Are you educated? You say, no, I went to a business school. And when you say, no, I went to a business school, it shows that you don't consider even yourself as an educated woman. It is something like I said, I have gone to a higher school of business and I have some degree. Sometimes ourselves degenerate our value in our society. Ourselves degenerate. Devaluate, underestimates our value in our society. Because of that, some types of intellectual or cognitive or some types of rational and sometimes some types of emotional characteristic are considered as culture-based characteristic. For example, in a sport and dance, what are the symbol of singing and dance all around the world? What the race, everybody in that race regularly has a good shape for dancing and a good sound for singing. Ordinarily, we consider black people. Black people, every time they have a good body for dancing in different ages. Not always, but ordinary. Can we find a black man or woman that doesn't have any good voice? Yes, why not? Can we find any man or women in black race that doesn't have any good body for example, running as a sport? Yes. But ordinary sometimes, because of that, it is called perceived characteristic, not real characteristic. How do you perceive about the meaning of that characteristic, physiological characteristic for a race or nationality characteristic for an ethnicity? A subordinate group is one whose members, because of physical or cultural characteristics, are disadvantaged and subjected to unequal treatment and discrimination by the dominant group. We talk about the bourgeoisie and proletariat, about the owners of production tools, and about the working class. The discussion of Karl Marx about the different social level, social class. Now, again, we have in ethnicity and in race, especially in ethnicity, we have dominant group and subordinate group. Contemporary prejudice and discrimination cannot be understood without taking into account the historical background. You see, some women in black and some white soldiers. School integration in the 1950s was accomplished despite white resistance. We had white people protest against going black women to school, black people at first, black men. We had protest against it. It is catastrophe. In 1950s, in about only 7 years ago. White people said 7 years ago, not 700 years ago. White people said no, it is not equal for black people go to the same school that our children only 1950s after World War II, Second World War. Today, integration in education, housing, and many other areas of social life remains a pressing social issue. Again, we are talking about prejudice and stereotypes. What's your personal, how do you think about the meaning of prejudice? Is it a real word? Is it an idealistic word? Can we find in a real word the prejudice or not? We are thinking as an utopia for the next generation. How do you think, as a lady, as a mother, as a citizen of America, as many roles that you are playing in your life, is it a real word or not? Gabriela and Courtney. Is there any prejudice now in the society of America in reality?
Yes, I think prejudice is still around.
In what areas?
The main places I have seen it will be treating people different based on their skin color, for example.
Mm-hmm.
And it's very unfortunate. But I do think it's because like you said, it's only 70 years ago.
Uh-huh. Only 70 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
In something which is one of the basic human rights, at least in country like America, education. Education is a basic human right for everybody all around the world. Who has said is founders of the United States of America. It's something like pursuit of happiness. It's a basic human right. But now also, I don't know, honestly, I don't know, that in great cities like Los Angeles, like New York, with what is the rate? What is the rate of this prejudice, for example, in different races? But only 7 years ago, near 7 years ago, we had some problems for the school. Stereotypes are overgeneralization about the appearance, behavior, or other characteristic of member of particular categories. Overgeneralization. It's a stereotype. Sometimes it is called mannerism. Mannerism is some types of behavior that you can find in people with psychiatric problems, that they have some meaning, they consider some meaning for their behavior. For example, each 5 minutes, your patient in psychiatric hospital said, this one, this one, this one. An army movement, this one. Every 5 minutes, I had a patient in mental hospital. Every 5 minutes said, yes, sir, yes, sir. And it was not army, it was hospital. It is called mannerism or stereotypic behavior in people with psychiatric problems. Now in sociology, now in social contexts, we find overgeneralization. A very smart question. What are the stereotypic thinkings about white people in other races? Do you know? We always talk about the bad behavior, about the stereotypes of white people on other races. White people think that, yeah, yes, you cannot come to our school. White people say this, white people say that. And now, sometimes I think it is in an oppositional situation. Sometimes I see that other races are thinking so different and with some stereotypic thinking about all the race of white. They are arrogant. Some people say white people are arrogant. I think I have very good, very, very good, fair, lovely co-workers that they are white people. And they are not arrogant. Honestly, they are not arrogant. It's like a wave of sea, some up, and after that, some down. And again, up, down, until near the shore, you can find it as a flat. Flat wave is a fair wave, not up, not down. And honestly, flat wave is not called wave. It is called wave with the ups and downs, with the ups and downs. After it becomes flat, the title is not wave, it is water, water flow. Racism is a set of attitudes, beliefs, and practices that is used to justify the superior treatment of one racial or ethnic group and the inferior treatment of another racial or ethnic group. Very, very, very oversensitive word. Oversensitive word in the United States, racism, oversensitive. You should be always cautious about your behavior, always cautious, especially in California. People are oversensitive. It's good, very good that you are sensitive to the racism. But when you are oversensitive, every action, every different action can be claimed as a racistic behavior. You are not in a comfort position to talk with other people. I have found that in California, two things, people are oversensitive to two parts. One, sexual harassment, two, racism. They are oversensitive. Why? Because we have a long history of bad behavior, malbehaviors about the races and about the women. Because of these malbehaviors, during the last, for example, 200 years, there is an oversensitivity about racism and gender, about sexual harassment in America, especially in California. You should be very cautious about these parts. But regularly, yes, it's good. This country is from multiple cultures, and nobody can say other people that you are from this race or from that race, and because of the race you are superior or inferior. Also, if it was a real current fact of America, it was we couldn't see any types of movement like BLM, Black Lives Matters. It was real, there's no protest. When you see protest, it means that something is wrong. But the idealistic perspective of fair, of justice in country is about equality for different races, equality for different genders, equality for different gender orientation, just as after BLM, you saw the movement of GLBT in Los Angeles. Just after BLM, gays, lesbian, bisexual, and transgenders come to the street and say, where is our right? And they were right. Why? Because after Black people, these minorities also, I don't know if they are in minority or not, but these different people, GLBT, came to the street and say, yes, we are in protest again. According to the frustration aggression hypothesis, members of white supremacy groups such as the KU, Ku Klux Klan, after use member of subordinate racial and ethnic groups as scapegoat for societal problems over which they have no control. Also, it is a modern Ku Klux Klan. They have killed a lot of African American, I think near 200 years ago, between 200 and 100 years ago. They are the greatest, basically some religious part, some Christianity based beliefs against other races, especially Black people. Theories of prejudice. Frustration aggression hypothesis states that the people who are frustrated in their efforts To achieve a highly desired goals, we respond to a pattern of aggression toward others. When you are under pressure for a long time, aggression will be one of your first ranking and first ranked behaviors. Why? Because of your frustration. Scapegoat is a person or group that is incapable of offering resistance to the hostility or aggression of others. It is called scapegoat. That group is called a scapegoat. And an authoritarian personality is characterized by excessive conformity, submissiveness to authority, intolerance, insecurity, and high level of superstition and rigid stereotypic thinking. It is authoritarian personality. Also, we have sometimes of authoritarian family. We have three styles of parenting. One of the very usual, very common parenting styles is authoritarian parenting styles, which is not so good. And discrimination involves action or practices of dominant group members that have a harmful effect on members of a subordinate group. Again, we are talking about dominant group and subordinate group, underdog and upper dog people. It is the word we use in psychology for inferiority and superiority. You see here, prejudiced attitude. Is there any prejudiced attitude or discriminatory behavior in unprejudiced non-discriminators? No. In unprejudiced discriminatory people, we didn't find any prejudiced attitude, but yes, we have some discriminatory behavior. In prejudiced non-discriminatory people, we find some prejudiced attitude, but without any discriminatory behavior. And in prejudiced discriminatory people, we find, yes, both of them, prejudiced attitude and discriminative behavior. Okay, go for a 15 minutes rest until 6:50, and after that again come back. Genocide is a phenomenon that we can find in 20th century in some different times. What is the greatest genocide? You know, the hugest genocide.
Against the Jewish people.
Yeah, against the Jewish people in World War II. And after that, genocide in Central Europe against Muslim people, Muslim European people, and near
In
Czechoslovakia.
Africa.
No, near Czechoslovakia.
Oh no, I'm saying also I forget the name, but in Africa, the more recent, the most I think that's the most recent.
Yeah. And in some parts of Far East now, in Myanmar and some other parts, we see genocide, killing a whole race, everybody. It is a war crime. It's a crime against humanity. You are killing everybody, a race. And after that, nobody will live from that race. It is genocide. You are not doing some homicide, only one people, two people, three people. Genocide is the deliberate, systematic killing of an entire people or nation. And after that, they will be only a part of history, not an external reality. Individual discrimination consists of one-on-one acts by members of the dominant group that harm members of the subordinate group or their property. Institutional discrimination is very important for you as the future leaders or future managers. Institutional discrimination consists of the day-to-day practices of organization and institutions that have a harmful effect on members of subordinate groups. You can find it in different aspects. Sometimes it is about the races. Sometimes it is about ethnicities. Sometimes it is about the genders. And sometimes it is about the sexual orientation, for example, and religion. Do you think religious problems is an important problem in discrimination or not in 21st century? Do you think people of the world have solved the differences about their religion, or now, just now in 21st century, in different countries, we can find some theocratic people, theocratic government. Also, my country government is theocratic, based on the educations of a specific religion. And also, Vatican is theocratic. Here, Mormons in Utah, they are theocratic. But how do you think? Do you think religion is still a source of power against people from other religion or not? Especially outside of America and Europe. How do you think? And if your answer is yes, why? Why such a kind thing like religion, such a kind and compassionate phenomenon like God, why such thing can be a source of fight against other people because they are not from our religion? Why?
I think a lot of it has to do with especially extreme religion. They will discriminate against people who don't share the same beliefs.
Why people will become extremists in religion? For example, we have a traditional story about Prophet Muhammad that when he opened and captured the city, that before that time, many people in that city had suffered Muhammad a lot, had a lot of wounds in his body and other parts. And after Muhammad came to the city, Muhammad said, everybody is forgiven. General forgiveness, public forgiveness. In the other hand, you see a very radical terroristic organization like ISIS with the flag of Muhammad, but ISIS is not the real Islam. Or you see in Christianity, Ku Klux Klan. You cannot see the behavior of a kind being like Jesus Christ. Jesus Christ is the flag of kindness. But you see Ku Klux Klan. They had killed other people except of Christianity. ISIS is not the symbol of Islam. Also, Ku Klux Klan is the symbol of Christianity. Also about the Jewish, about the Buddhism, about the Zarathustrian. My question is that why? Why religious people sometimes become so rude, so ruthless, so unkind people? In the case that the basic message of all prophets, is not about the Muhammad or other people. Sorry. Sorry. How do you think, as a woman, as a mother, as a citizen in a good country like US, you see here a lot of religious, not discrimination, religious differences that people want to overcome your ideas. Especially in some liberal country like America. Okay, it's that about Asia, no problem. It's a Middle East, no problem. But again, in America, sometimes you see some types of overcoming and pressing pressure on other people because of their religion. Why?
From personal experience of speaking to, I guess I forget their exact denomination, but a form of Christianity. They literally believe that if you are homosexual or commit a sin, like even adultery, even though if it is a sin, but if you will actually burn in hell, they truly believe like that their soul will be trapped in a physical realm of hell and like burned for eternity. That's what they truly believe that, and
Yeah.
that's at their extreme of like, and that discriminates against anybody who is homosexual, or bisexual, or commits some sort of sin.
Yeah. But other people, it is the problem when some people think that you don't know which is good or bad for you.
Mm-hmm.
It's a problem. Other people think that, yes, we know which is best for you. We are not God. We are the representative of God here. And who has given to you the right of representativity of God? God. It's a bitter joke. It's a joke, but it's a bitter. Because of that, people kill each other. It is very paradoxical situation. Because of compassion, people kill each other. If their religion is the symbol of kindness, symbol of compassion, people kill each other because of compassion. It's a bitter joke, bitter killing. And it's ordinary? Yes, it's ordinary. In different parts of the world, it has different power. Yes, in America, and other systematic here in Asia, other systematic approach to religion and religious parts. So the problem is not the religion. The problem is not the message of religion. The problem is the message of prophets. The problem is the message of followers.
And the way that they interpret.
Yeah, it's
even-
everything. It is about interpretation.
Mhm.
Everything. It is about attitude, interpretation, not about the message. No Buddha, no Muhammad, no Jesus, no Moses, not Noah, not Abraham. None of them has talked about killing each other. None of them. They have talked about God, kindness, guidance, and other things. But the followers and systematically follower, to be systematically follower. For example, organizations like church or like mosques, for example, in Islam or in other religions. This systematic approach has created a great power against other religions with a lot of disturbance, with a lot of unkind behaviors. And you will see such behaviors in your organizations. Mentions 4 major types of discrimination: isolate discrimination, skull group discrimination, direct institutional discrimination, and indirect institutional discrimination. These are different types of discrimination. In one of the most famous theories about discrimination, symbolic interactionists believe that intergroup conduct can reduce stereotyping and prejudice if group members have equal status, pursue the same goals, and cooperate to achieve them, and receive positive feedback when they interact with one another in positive ways. It is something like behavior between interaction between children. Children don't know anything about the racism. They play to each other. Children don't know anything about the ethnical differences. They play with each other. Don't know anything about your religion attitude. They play with each other. Children are symbols of pure humanity, without any direction, any prejudice, any discrimination. After, in the process of becoming an adult, we will give them, yes, this is us. This is our race. This is our nationality. This is our religion. This is me who wants to overcome other people. And you should be follower of my way. Sometimes in the same page, sometimes in another page. Symbolic, we are talking about the different approaches to racism here. Symbolic interactions claim that intergroup contact may either intensify or reduce racial and ethnic stereotyping and prejudice. It's very good, especially in the part of reduce racial prejudice and stereotypic behavior. Yes. Intergroup. Functionalist perspective says assimilation is the process by which members of subordinate racial and ethnic groups become absorbed into dominant culture. It is cultural assimilation, it is acculturation. A structural assimilation, it is integration. Biological assimilation, it is amalgamation. And psychological assimilation. We will be like you. We as subordinates will become like you as dominant group. It is about the assimilation. Assimilation and accommodation. Also in developmental psychology, we have these two words, two phrases. Assimilation, the process of assimilation in children between 4 to 6, and accommodation, again, in children between 4 to 6. And assimilation and accommodation is the basic part of moral development in human beings. It's the basic. It is the basic principles of moral development, ethics. How can you gain the ethics of behavior, the ethics of society and other parts? Ethnic pluralism is the coexistence of a variety of distinct racial and ethnic groups within one society. Segregation is the spatial and social separation of categories of people by race, ethnicity, class, gender, and/or religion, de facto or de jure. I have a question. What is the difference between discrimination and segregation? Is there any difference between segregation and discrimination? Nothing.
Segregation is about keeping people apart.
Yeah. And what about discrimination?
That's about treating like somebody different for your belief, different beliefs or race or.
Yeah. Which is about the races? We have racial segregation or racial discrimination.
That's in both, but
That's
segregation is just about. I guess the best way that I would describe it is keeping them away from each other.
Yeah. Which is more dangerous in a society? Racial discrimination or racial segregation? Which is more harmful?
Segregation.
Segregation, yes. It's very harmful, very serious, very practical. And from the conflict perspective, the caste perspective views racial and ethnic inequality as a permanent feature of the US society. Do you agree or not? It's permanent feature of US society, inequality. If you say yes, why do you think yes? If you say no, what are your reasons for to be in a position or state of answering no? Yeah, I don't believe that racism and inequality is a nature and permanent feature of the US society. For example, the African American experience is different than other racial ethnic groups. The caste perspective, caste, I said to you that caste is a word from Indian culture. The caste system in Indian culture is a very ancient system to categorize people in different categorization, social stratification. For example, higher people, mid-level people, and lower people. It's a caste system. It's a political, social, economic in aspect of regard to other people and have some social options. For example, I am dominant, I'm subordinate, and it is family-based. The caste system is based on your family. It comes with your burning estate. It's observed by your family. Something like, for example, to be a son of a king. If you are a prince, it's a caste system. Why? Because you didn't do anything for being a prince. You are a prince because your father was king. You are a queen because your husband is king. It's a caste system. Social level based on the features that you are born with them. How do you think? Do you think racial and ethnic inequality is a permanent feature of US society or not? Gabriela, you are so silent today. What about you, Courtney? Do you think it is true?
I don't want it to be true.
No, it's not related. You're wanting. What is the fact, real fact of the community, of the society? Do you think it is a fact, a permanent feature or not?
No, I don't think it's going to be a permanent feature. I think we're evolving and people are making a difference. You know, we've referenced like the Black Lives Matter and the LBGQ communities, and bringing awareness to closing the social gap between like the poor and rich, and like quality of education,
Yeah.
and things like that. I think it's going to be fixed in any time in the near future. Like utopian society, I would say I wish,
Yeah.
but I think we're on the uphill climb to, um,
So,
having
so
equality.
you think U.S. U.S. with the same categorization, U.S. without any discrimination, is a utopian state, not real estate, just now.
Yes, because that would be,
A wish.
yes.
Perfect. And the class perspective emphasizes the role of capitalism class in racial exploitation. Why? We need money. We need something more than money. It is called capital. And for capital, we need force work. And for force work, we need some exploitation. You work for our gain. Internal colonialism occurs when members of a racial or ethnic group are conquered or colonized and forcibly placed under the economic and political control of the dominant group. It is internal colonialism. You see the picture here, greening poverty is a pressing problem. Also, it is before COVID for families living along the border between the United States and Mexico before COVID and before Mr. Trump. Economic development has been limited in areas where colonias such as this one are located, and the wealthy have derived from more benefit than others from recent changes in the global economy. How right the concept of internal colonialism be used to explain the impoverished conditions shown in this photo. Split labor market refers to the division of the economy into two areas of employment, the primary sector and the secondary sector. We are entering to the racial and ethnographic base of your job as a manager. Do you know what is ethnography? What does it mean, ethnography, as a research method? Ethnography is a research method that the researchers goes inside a group, especially tribes, and gathering information, collect the data he or she wants by direct observation and direct interview with the tribe members. It is ethnography, or with the with the members of the specific ethnicity. It is ethnography. After that, collect information and analysis of the information, on a data analysis. We have some result and we have some conclusion and discussion about the results. It is called ethnography. One of the purest research methods all around the world, especially in the field of human sciences, is ethnography. Ethnography is very important and very hard because you will live with the members, not only gathering information by questionnaires, or, for example, gathering data from other sources, indirect sources. You go directly into their race, into ethnicity, and gathering information, living with them. So it is not so frequent in the field of research to have some ethnographic researchers. But the researchers that their main area of research is ethnography, they are so courage, and they have given us a lot of the most real information about human beings, especially from the aspect of ethnography and ethnicity and races. Gender racism refers to an interactive effect of racism and sexism on the exploitation of women of color. Racism is about the exploitation of color. Sexism is the exploitation of gender, sexuality, women. Gender racism refers to the interactive effect of racism and sexism, both of them. For example, you are a black woman. Some types of exploitation, sometimes of discrimination because you are black, some types of discrimination because you are a woman. So it is double effect. It is gender racism, exploitation of women of a color. For example, the theory of racial formation states that actions of the government substantially define racial and ethnic relations in the United States. It is the racial formation. It is about the macro level of leadership, macro leadership, not micro. It's the macro, it's the government. What is the behavior of government or people, or for example, a president or a vice president or governing in a specific state. And critical race theory suggests that racism is so ingrained in US society that it appears to be natural to many people. Do you believe it or not? Many people in America think that, yes, it is not good, but it is very normal and natural. Please mention that. Many things are normal. They are norm. They are frequent. They are usual in a society, but they are not natural or healthy. Many things. For example, now in many countries, COVID-19 is normal. Everybody has COVID-19, but it is not natural and it is not healthy. It's something different. Normality is not about to be healthy. Normality is not about the matter of to be nature, to be natural. Normality, it is about the rate of distribution. More distribution, more normality. More distribution, more normality. Higher distribution, higher normality. So critical race theory suggests that racism is so ingrained in the US society that it appears to be natural to many people. What do you think about this theory? Do you think many people in America think that racism is so natural in the US or not? Many people think, yes, it has been natural, for example, 200 years ago. But now in the modern society of US, it should not be natural. Sometimes it is natural. Courtney, how do you think?
I think it should not be natural.
It should?
Should not be natural.
But you see, in normal behavior of people, that racism is very current behavior or not?
Yes, I think it is.
You see.
That's why we have the movements like
What
Black Lives
type of
Matter.
racism, for example, what type of discrimination, not only about races, what type of discrimination you see more frequent in people?
Women and men,
Uh-huh,
gender inequality.
uh-huh. About gender. Okay, thank you. Symbolic interactions focus on micro-level contacts between individuals, and the theory is contact hypothesis. And functionalist, these are the different approach of sociology. We look at any type of theory. Functionalist says macro level intergroup processes, including assimilation and ethnic pluralism, assimilation, including cultural assimilation, biological assimilation, structural assimilation, and psychological assimilation. And the second part is the ethnic pluralism. It includes egalitarian pluralism and inequalitarian pluralism, so-called segregation. The third theory, it's conflict aspect or conflict approach to the matter of racism and ethnicism. It is power economic differentials between dominant and subordinate group. It is about the conflict approach. And we have 6 types of different types of perspective: caste perspective, class perspective, internal colonialism, split labor market, gendered racism, we talked about it just now, and racial formation by the government. And the final theory is critical race theory, racism as an ingrained feature of society that affects everyone's daily life. The line of racial and ethnic group in the United States before about 400 years ago and now until 20 different races in America. Native American and Alaskan natives, genocide, forced migrant, and forced assimilation, and sports are the gender parts of it is the race part of Native American, Alaskan natives. And also you see here the tribal colleges and university in United States. Okay, go for the test and you have the, yes, so sure when I just go for the test. You have 15 minutes to your quiz. And I am here also if you had any question. Check it that if you can enter or not.
May I ask a question before we go for the night about the case study?
Your voice is interrupted. I didn't hear you.
Oh, I'm sorry. I have a question about the case study.
Yeah.
Can we do, what are the points that you want us to hit on? Like, are we evaluating a certain company's social corporate role or what we think their role should be?
Can you repeat again? Can you repeat again?
Oh, can you hear me now?
Yeah.
So for the case study, can we pick any company?
Yeah.
Okay, and do you want us to, are we like evaluating what they do for their for their corporate responsibility or what we think they should be doing?
It's better than I expect. If you can do it, perfect. Why not? The cases that is simpler than you are talking about. Where is more simpler? But if you can do it, perfect. Why not?
Okay, so could you explain to me what you're looking for, though? What's this? Can you explain it in the simplest terms for me?
Yeah.
Simple.
I want you to read the topic of the case study and in 3 pages, and each page with about near 15 lines, and each line is about near 15 words. You explain your view. For example, we are talking about Walmart.
Mm-hmm.
And we have offered you some videos, and you can find it also in other parts of YouTube and other resources for articles. It's a bachelor case study, very, very simple. Only have a good analysis about for example, Walmart that we are talking now. It's very simple, very, very simple. We want you to show us that you have the ability of writing, the ability of organize your mind about the subject. It is the basic concept of case study. You are studying sociology. We want you show us that yes, as a bachelor student, I have the ability to summarize my knowledge of sociology about that matter. But something you are talking about is much better that I expect. If you can do it, why not? It's a good practice for you to go to the real world of business. Why not? It is not mandatory. Gabriela, would you understand what I said about the case study? Is it clear?
Yeah, I understand now.
Because you said that is your first time. It is very, very easy.
Mm-hmm.
Very
Yeah, I
easy.
thought it was Marco. I thought it was like a big work that I had to do. Like,
if you can do it, pay attention.
Mm-hmm.
So
It
we're just
is not about the final grade, or it is not about the having a bachelor or DV, PhD even. It is not about this. It is about your mind, your mental practice, and your mental skills.
Mhm.
If you can practice, for example, your writing skills, your summarization skills, your intellectual skills, is something more than you give or you gain, for example, of your final grade. It is permanent skill you are practicing now. It's very, very deeper than I expect. But as a project for your final grade, it is very simple. Any question?
Maybe I am just making it more complicated than it has to
Yeah, I was
because
too.
because I'm reading the directions and it says role of any of the stated companies in corporate social responsibility in America.
Yeah. Courtney, you are a bachelor student, not a PhD
Yes.
student. If you can do it in a very higher level, why not?
Okay.
It is not high school, it is university. Okay, I know.
So is this
If you,
one specific company or can we mention a few different companies?
yeah. One specific company, for example, Walmart,
Okay.
in contrast with, for example, Costco.
Okay.
What is the topic? Social responsibility. Go and watch some movies and some videos in the YouTube and some articles, and finally said yes. For example, we know that the customer service of Walmart is very good. No ask question for returning. But the researchers show that the employees of the Walmart are not so satisfied to work in Walmart. What about the social responsibility and what about the employee satisfaction in Walmart? If you can elaborate, I love it. Why not?
Okay.
It is not about the grade. It is about your mental ability to work as a manager. It is the
Okay.
last time you can try it by free because you are paying money for education. If you go to the real world and you haven't done such practices, you will be an amateur manager. You are not a, it is very good. If you love to work on it, why not? See more than, for example, 5 videos. Read 5 articles. It is not my academic expectation. My academic expectation that I said, yes, there is no plagiarism, there is no copy paste. They have written the article by themselves, and we have some data collection, data analysis, result and conclusion discussion. It is good. But
Okay.
if you love to work harder, why not? It's for you, not for me. And it's in for your money making in the near future, not in the too far future. It is near future. After 1 year, if you are working so good with your mind, with your mental ability, with your execution, executive intelligence, even during the time of you are a student, you can be a good manager outside of the university. Why not? Many of our students are working as manager just only because they have worked in, for example, first 2 years of academic education here, they have worked something more than we expected. But our expectation is not so high at the same level that we have. Also, I think it is not too high and too difficult. But sometimes some students says, no, this level of expectation only you are giving us in the, for example, description of cases is so hard. Sorry, lower than this expectation, it is not acceptable. Upper than, why not? Have a good time.
Thank you.
Welcome.